With roster cuts happening last week, we now know who our 53-man roster is. In this video, we're going to dive into who made the offensive cuts. Now, like Clint Eastwood and Pale Rider, I'm here to deliver some hard truth and some justice to y'all about the reality of our offense. Pale Rider. That's what your mom called me last night. Roll the intro. Welcome to Detroit! Alright, welcome back to the channel, you guys. As you know, I'm Hat and Beard, the host of this thing. Go ahead and hit subscribe or click like on your way out the door so that you never miss out on any of this wonderful content. And we can help roll this thing a little bit, and I can take your mom out to a nice steak dinner, not make her pay. Let's get right into the offensive breakdowns for the Detroit Lions 2023 regular season. Starting it off with quarterback Jared Goff. Good old Jared Goff. I'm expecting 4,400 yards and 37 touchdowns with 12 to 15 interceptions out of Jared Goff. Do not get hurt, Jared Goff. We cannot have you get hurt because your backup is a guy that we brought in last week. Claimed off of waiver wires, good old Nate Sudfeld. That's right, ladies and gentlemen. We cut David Blau to bring in Nate Sudfeld because, well, Obenina Ize really cost David Blau a spot on this roster. I'm not surprised that he wasn't on the roster. I thought maybe he could make it on the 53-man, but instead, hey, we got Nate Sudfeld. We ended up only carrying 3 running backs into the regular season. A bit of a surprise to me considering the usage that we have for our running backs and the durability concerns that I have about DeAndre Swift getting shifty and maybe getting a little too hurt periodically. He's never been able to stay healthy the first 2 seasons of his NFL career. And we know that Jay Willie is a little bit more of a physical running back. So we kept 2 on the practice squad, easy to elevate them up. They both already know our offensive scheme. You know, Jamar Jefferson was drafted last year by us and Justin Jackson. You guys know how I feel about Justin Jackson. I've been preaching Justin Jackson since the beginning of the preseason when we signed him late into the start of minicamp. But look, we got 3 running backs. We got Swift, we got Jamal Williams, and we got my boy, the champion of Detroit, Craig Reynolds. My dude, Craig Reynolds. So we'll be rolling with Swifty getting shifty and cutting loose. I'm expecting at least 1,000 yards rushing and around 500 yards receiving out of Swifty. I mean, he thinks he can go for 1K and 1K, which is a little insane, but hey, if he can stay healthy and his usage is similar to what it was last season, you know, possible 500 to 700 receiving yards. I don't see 1,000 receiving yards coming out of the backfield. I mean, the usage that DeAndre Swift would have to hit 1K and 1K would be astronomical. You'd be putting a lot of wear and tear on Swifty, and I don't think our coaching staff is going to allow him to be put in a position where we're putting that much bang on his body. Can he do it? Probably. Can he sustain that? No. You'll have Todd Gurley 2.0 on your hands, and I don't really want that, man. I'd like to see Swift have a nice, decent career, man. I actually like DeAndre Swift. I don't want to see him get broke down. Don't Todd Gurley wide receivers, which we had a terrible wide receiver room last year, and we basically went from bottom of the barrel to upper mid-tier, bottom, upper tier. We brought in DJ Shark on a 1-year, $10 million prove-it deal. And I think that's great. I actually think DJ Shark is a great wide receiver. Yeah, he got hurt last year. I actually watched the game where he blew up his ankle. And I remember telling Hatton Boobs, oh my God, DJ Shark just blew up his ankle. He's like my number 1 free agent acquisition list. Like DJ Shark was like my number 1 target for a wide receiver on our free agent list. And we got him. And I think DJ Shark is an athlete. And I think he's going to ball out. We also got, obviously, Amon-Ra St. Brown, Mr. Chip on his shoulder, Mr. All-World, everything last year, Mr. 90 catches for 900 yards, Mr. I'm going to go over 1,000 yards receiving this year because I'm going to be the most dominant slot receiver in the game this season. Amon-Ra St. Brown's the man. We all already know it. I'm going to stop gushing over Amon-Ra St. Brown right now. We know Josh Reynolds will be bringing up the number 3 wide receiver spot. Again, we've seen what happened with the offense when we brought in a little bit more of a deep threat, big physical wide receiver last year when we brought him in, I think, in week 7. Jared Goff already had a little bit of familiarity with him. You could see the comfort level Jared Goff had with Josh Reynolds last year. And if you watch Hard Knocks, you see that Jared Goff was talking to Dan Campbell about, man, I'm a lot more confident this year. I have these weapons that I get to utilize. He has more rapport with Saint. He has a natural rapport with DJ Shark because he's more of an elite level wide receiver than we've had the last couple of seasons. And clearly, we were playing with guys off the street last year. And you know, bless his heart, Khalif Raymond is a good athlete, but he's not 6'3". He's not 6'2". He's not going to go up and beat the DBs and the safeties in a jump ball situation. But Josh Reynolds is there. Like I just said, Khalif Raymond will also be on the roster. I expect him to be utilized in probably the punt returner role. The number 2 slot guy, he adds good depth and athleticism. Again, he can stretch the field, but he's not a big-bodied guy like a Josh Reynolds, like a DJ Shark. He's a little bit more small body build, but he's shifty, he's fast, he's good in the slot. He's an athlete. He's a good player to have on your roster. And then the 5th and final wide receiver spot, because if you count JMO, we'll end up probably keeping 6. Quintez Cephas made it on the roster. I'm not going to talk about Quintez Cephas. I've been talking about Quintez Cephas with people for a couple years now, and until Quintez Cephas can prove it on the field and stay healthy, I'm not going to buy into the Quintez Cephas hype anymore. Hopefully he does well. Hopefully he can produce. Hopefully he's everything that we think he can be. But I'm not going to sell myself down that road until I actually see it. I need some production out of him. Talking tight ends, because Dan Campbell loves a tight end. He is not into the loose ends. He likes tight ends. We kept 4 of them, just like I thought we were going to all off season, because Jason Kabinda again will start on the PUP list, so we're going to need to utilize someone in the H-back role. I expect Brock Wright to probably get the majority of that snap, the majority of that work in that role until Kabinda comes back. But the 4 tight ends, we're obviously keeping Hawk because, dude, Hawk, come on, man. You have all of the tools, bro. I need you to be a top 5 tight end in the league, bro. I need you to step up. So Hawk's our number 1 tight end, and then we're going to be rolling with Brock Wright, who I've talked about a few times already. He looked decent last year as a rookie, the tight end out of Notre Dame. He looked decent in spot work for Hawk last year. He's bigger, he's physical, he's more of a prototypical tight end. He can block pretty well. So Brock Wright. We kept James Mitchell, our rookie from Virginia Tech. He came back from injury a little bit faster than I think we were all expecting. He was able to get some preseason work. He's big, for one. He's tall, he's lanky, but he can also block well. I probably see limited snaps out of him because, again, he's still trying to catch up from where he was delayed in the offseason with having a knee injury. But James Mitchell made the roster, which is a good thing. And then my favorite tight end to make the roster, I was really hoping he would come around and make the 53-man roster. I'm not saying he's my favorite tight end, but of the players, I was really rooting for Shane Zylstra. So Shane Zylstra made the 53-man roster. I think that's awesome. I really expect it to come down to if we move a player off of the regular season 53-man roster down to the practice squad to elevate Jason Kabinda, I think you'll really see a fight between James Mitchell and Shane Zylstra for that 3rd tight end spot, and whoever loses out will probably be demoted back down to the practice squad. I'm just speculating. Again, I'm just a YouTuber talking into a camera. This is a decision made by NFL coaches and general managers and player personnel. I'm not that guy. I'm just hollering into a camera like a moron. And finally, let's talk about where the real money is made, where real men are forged in the trenches. The hog bollies, the big boys, where the money and the fame ain't really doled out. But boy, if you ain't got a solid line, man, you ain't going nowhere. Let's talk about the O-linemen. We ended up keeping 9. I thought we were only going to keep 8, but we ended up keeping 9 offensive linemen. Let's just run down. We already know our starting 5, okay? So at the left tackle, you got Taylor Decker. At left guard, Jonah Jackson. I call that the Ohio State side of the line because both those guys attended at Ohio State. Your center, arguably the best center in the league. The dude's, he's tough as nails. You realize that Frank Ragnow a couple seasons ago played with a fractured neck? Yeah, dude's got balls the size of Jupiter, man. He's iron tough, dude. He's iron tough. Frank Ragnow's the man, dude. In case you don't know this, he also runs a YouTube channel where he goes fishing. So he's an outdoors guy. He hunts, he fishes. Go support Frank Ragnow on his YouTube channel, man. I love Frank Ragnow. I think he's the best center in the game. He's humble. You heard him on Hard Knocks straight up say, they're like, this is better than getting a pancake block on Aaron Donald. And he's like, yeah, but that doesn't happen very often. He's one of the best. Aaron Donald's just, Aaron Donald. Can we just give Aaron Donald the gold jacket already? He's the best player of our era. Best defensive player of our era. So Frank Ragnow's at center. And then at the right guard spot, you have one of my favorite players, Big V, Halapalooza Vaitai. I love Halapalooza Vaitai. I think he's really underrated. He seems to have this really funny deadpan sense of humor. He gives these hilarious looks at the camera when Jamal Williams delivers those just cheesy jokes on Hard Knocks. I really love Halapalooza Vaitai. There was no argument that Tommy Kramer or Logan Stenberg were going to beat him out for a starting role. So I'm glad that he's plugging away, playing long. So we got our Ohio State side of the line, and then we got our Hawaiian side of the line, because our right tackle is soon to be. I mean, Penei Sewell is on the fast track to the Hall of Fame. Penei Sewell is the best young right tackle in the league. I think there's maybe one or two. Lane Johnson is probably better than Penei Sewell right now. But Penei Sewell, man, oh man, I love Penei Sewell, dude. He's the man, dude. Penei Sewell, I don't say this much, legit. Penei Sewell is that dude. So that rounds out our top 5 offensive line. I was speculating early on that we were only going to keep 8 offensive linemen on the regular season roster. You have a swing tackle, and then you have 2 guys that can play inside. You have a backup guard and center where you could rotate in between the 2 of them. We ended up keeping 9, so we ended up keeping Matt Nelson, who I said earlier on, Matt Nelson, he was going to make the 53-man roster. He's our top swing tackle. What do I mean by swing tackle? What I mean by swing tackle is that he is a tackle that can play the left or right side, barring, or depending on injury. So if Decker goes down, you can either move Penei over and you can plug Nelson in at the right tackle, or if it's just like quickly get in there, Nelson go play the left tackle. He can play either side of the tackle position. So we commonly refer to that as a swing tackle. So Matt Nelson is your swing tackle, arguably your top reserve offensive lineman. He could probably maybe start on some teams. I'm sure the Bears would love to have him. But Matt Nelson's our top swing tackle. Then we kept Evan Brown, who has played in relief of Frank Ragnow when he's been hurt. Last year he played a lot of snaps. And Evan Brown is a starting offensive lineman on 31 other teams. I'm going to be honest. Evan Brown is one of the top 15 centers in the league. I think we're very lucky to have a reserve player as talented as Evan Brown, and someone who's humble enough to know his role and be okay with it. So Evan Brown's our top center, or our top reserve center interior lineman. We ended up keeping both Tommy Kramer and Logan Stenberg, 2 reserve guards who I was pretty sure that Stenberg was going to get the cut to make room for another wide receiver or a running back. A lot of teams only carry 8 offensive linemen on their active roster, but we ended up rolling with 9 because Logan Stenberg put enough on film that you just couldn't argue enough to cut him. He looked too decent in the preseason, so I'm glad to see Logan Stenberg actually make the active roster. And Stenberg and Tommy Kramer round out our 9 offensive linemen and our reserve guys. So that's going to do it for our offensive breakdown, you guys. I expect our offense to be the strong point of our team this year. Most speculation has our defense being not so great. I kind of think otherwise. I think we're being sorely underrated and overlooked in certain positions on defense, but our offense is going to have to score a lot. We know that this is a scoring league, that the rules have been changed to benefit points. Points sell tickets, points go up on DraftKings, more money comes in. The NFL is a business just like any other business, and they want to make money. And the easiest way to make money, although defense used to win championships, now it's all about them points, baby. It's all about score. So as much as we want to be a ground and pound team, man, I still think Jared Goff's going to have to throw for 4,400 yards and 35 or more touchdowns for us to be competitive. And that's with DeAndre Swift rushing for over 1,000 yards and having a 500-yard receiver. So let's think about it this way. If Hawkinson and St. Brown can accumulate for 1,600 yards combined and 16 touchdowns combined, Jared Goff throwing for 4,400 yards and 35 or more touchdowns with limited interceptions, low double digits. If Jared Goff can keep his interception ratio, or his interceptions in the single digits, we'll be way more competitive. And, Swifty's going to have to get Swifty and cut up the defense for 1,000 yards rushing and 500 yards receiving, even with all of that production. The reality of the matter is, guys, I don't think we're going to win more than 7 to 9 games this year. I really don't. I know I was really high on us earlier. 9 to 12 wins. We can get 9 to 12. I just don't see that happening. The reality is we don't have as elite of a roster as some of these other teams. We are a middle roster, upper middle roster team in the league. We're probably, we have one of the youngest rosters in the league, which means we have a lot of unproven talent. Who knows though? Who knows? Maybe J-Mo comes back and he is the most dominant wide receiver we've seen since Megatron. I'm not basing any of my projections on J-Mo being a contributing member of the team. Again, that's all benefit to us. That's all bonus bonus statistics. I really hope, though, that our offense can put points up and be competitive, and maybe we, get the W where we had L's on one possession games last year. So that's going to do it for me, guys. If you liked the video, go ahead and hit like if you made it this far. Maybe hit subscribe so that you never miss out on any future content. I've been Hat and Beard. You've been wonderful. We'll see you guys in the next one. Peace.
Trust me.